You can. So far away. There's also a sign-in sheet that if you could put your name and email on there before you leave, that would be great. We can also send you notifications in the future about the other tech talks we'll be doing the rest of the semester and the year, and other workshops that we're planning to run. I'm not going to introduce myself because I will in like 2 minutes, but thanks for being here for our first tech talk of the season. Alicia, what do I do with this to make it go?
Yeah.
Okay.
It has to see the.
Cool. Yeah. So I'm Melanie Bahti. I'm one of the new Mellon digital curriculum assistants in educational technology services. I know most of you. Hi. So do you want to introduce yourself as well?
Sure. My name is Palak Bhandari. I'm the other educational technology curriculum assistant.
So we both graduated in May, so we're class of 2016. I was a linguistics major and almost an anthropology minor. It's like that one class that always gets you. Like almost there. Yeah, but while I was a student, I was a student consultant for the TLI in my senior year, and that got me really interested in teaching and in pedagogy, and that's sort of what drew me to this position. So my real interest is in teaching and learning, and in working with faculty to make their learning environments more accessible to students and more engaging. So in that vein, I'm interested also in universal design for learning, and that's something I'd be really interested in working with folks on while I'm here for this year. The other projects that I've been working on lately involve audio editing. I'm also involved in the digital competencies initiative that Litz is working on with the President's Office, which is sort of starting to bloom from an idea into some actual programming, which is exciting. Yeah, so that's sort of my background and my interests, and I'll have a chance to work with more of you guys throughout the year.
So, like Melanie said, graduated in May. I was a double major in Cities and International Studies. I guess what sort of drew me or was my interest into the field of higher education was that I'd been a peer mentor for 3 years. So I was really interested in figuring out ways in which we could better work with students and staff and faculty to understand sort of how the student mind works and sort of what students are learning and how they're understanding how to deal with the many stressors that come with college. So I think going into sort of how I got interested in this position was sort of understanding the opposite side, sort of staff side of higher education, how higher education is structured. So I'm still figuring out sort of what I'm really interested in, but that's where I'm starting from.
Are we going all the way to one?
I think we'll go in order of like people's slides. So how do you
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Hello. So I'm Beth Seltzer. I am the new educational technology specialist. This is all my contact info. I thought that for this 5-minute bit, I would talk about a little about who I am, and then 3 things that are really exciting to me in the broader field. So I have a PhD in English literature from Temple. I got that last year, and since then I've been working at Penn as a postdoc in their library, and then I came from there to here. So I grew up in Philadelphia. I have really close ties to the region, so I'm very excited that this is where I ended up landing. And also, I don't think anyone here is an English or foreign language professor, but if you know any, I'm also a regional delegate to the MLA for this, one of the regional delegates. So you can send them to me with complaints about big things, and I can maybe bring them up. My dissertation research was on Victorian detective fiction, and it seems like it's sometimes a little hard to explain how I got from Victorian detective fiction into instructional technology. But as I was doing this research, I realized that what I was really interested in was kind of historical information technology. So I was looking at railway timetables and telegraphs and how people absorbed them and dealt with them and kind of processed that. And from there, I got interested in digital projects more broadly. So that's I kind of came into this backwards and from the wrong end entirely, but that's how I am. Okay, so 3 exciting parts of my dissertation ended up being the more kind of digital humanities-ish things. So here are some exciting pictures for my dissertation, mostly big because they're like colorful and I thought they would look good on a slide as opposed to any real deeper purpose. But I did some topic modeling, which is a textual analysis technique where you feed a whole bunch of text into a computer and the computer says, I think these things are related in some way. And then you kind of go back and analyze them. So this is a chart I made tracking some of those themes over time in detective fiction. I also did some network analysis, showing connections between different things. This particular one is actually an annotated bibliography. It's a visual representation of a whole bunch of texts about a particular subject. And I kind of fed all that information in, and then you can see what is actually like key to this network. Here at Bryn Mawr, I'm also very excited to be working on digital projects. We have the C grants, which I think some of you have been involved with, where we give faculty extra support, faculty and staff extra support to do something interesting with interactive methods. So digital projects, very exciting. The second thing, which is kind of new to me since being here, is social media. I was always kind of an academic Twitter user, but since being here, one of the things we've done is revamped our blog, beautifully designed by Mellon, who's sitting quietly in the audience over there. And we're starting regularly blogging about topics of blended learning. So we have the URL. There's some really cool posts up there. So I would encourage you to check it out and follow it. We also tweet about them. We're also working on supporting courses with social media. So Alicia and I just taught a workshop a little while ago on social media forums. So if there's any type of thing where you want us to help you put together resources or put together a class blog or website or teach a workshop, those are things that we can kind of help out with. Third thing, particularly interested in, is a career training. This is something that's kind of been very personally interested to me as a PhD who's looking to get into a non-traditional career path, but also as a humanities undergrad trying to figure out what the next step would be, like right after getting a bachelor's degree. And I think that this is where these digital projects, it's one of the particularly exciting things about doing digital projects is that you still are teaching like a very rich subject matter, but you also have a chance to send the students off with some sort of digital skills that are often very in demand by employers. So that's one of the things that I'm particularly excited about, also kind of working with broader initiatives for that. So I think that's my time, so thank you.
So I'm Alicia Peaker. I now know all of you. And so I guess I'll give you a little bit of a background. I know a lot of you, you've heard it several times, and then talk a little bit about my role here in terms of digital scholarship. So I'm, I don't know, the foil to Beth. I just made that up, but for research. And so digital scholarship specialist here. Sort of broadly speaking, digital scholarship has been defined in a lot of different ways as sort of the use of digital evidence, method, digital authoring, digital publishing, curation, preservation, things like data visualization, and so on. So it's been sort of defined by a lot of different people in a lot of different ways. But my sort of go-to is sort of using digital methods and platforms for scholarly research. And also I would say some creative works as well. So what does this look like? It looks very different in different kinds of fields and for different kinds of projects. Like Beth was talking about some digital projects. So there's really a range of engagement that can happen around this, but it's just some topics or areas that people often work in. So there's digital publishing. So a lot of university presses now are publishing born digital scholarship. Some spatial analysis, so people are doing really interesting things with historical GIS, for instance. Text mining, right, where you can sort of go into large corpora of text and understand, as Beth was talking about, sort of topic modeling, key ideas sort of rise to the surface, or in this case, you probably can't see this very well on the far right, but this is Ben Schmidt's, did kind of a popular piece on, he looked at the gender differences of Rate My Professor sort of visualization, network analysis, which Beth talked about a little bit, right, where you can see sort of who's connected to whom, 3D modeling, which Tom, I wonder if this would actually be a nice moment to do your
For those who do not know, next week we are very fortunate here at Bryn Mawr to be hosting Diane Favreau, who is an associate dean at UCLA. She is an architectural historian, and for about 2 decades she has done 3D modeling. She was the co-director of the Rome Reborn project, which many of you know of, this fly-through of Rome in the early 4th century. She has moved on to a variety of other projects. She's the director of the Experiential Technology Center at UCLA. She will be coming here and giving a public lecture entitled The Dangers of Representation, the Battle of the X's in Digital Urban Simulations. And so that will take place on Wednesday the 19th in Carpenter at 6:30. There is a pre-lecture reception right here at 6 o'clock. And then on the 20th, she's also doing a faculty, staff, grad student workshop on procedural modeling that will take place at 10:30 in the digital lab, and at 10 o'clock there is a pre-workshop reception in this room. She will also meet with students in the cities department for lunch, and then have a discussion with my seminar students in the City of Rome course in the afternoon of the 20th. So yes, she's doing a lot while here.
someone who's been working in the field, as you said, for a long time.
And her talk is co-sponsored by 10 entities on campus. And so you probably know some of them.
So these are sort of 6 kinds of topics or ways that people have been engaging or using digital methods for scholarship. They are not, this is by no means a definitive list of the kinds of approaches that might happen, but it's sort of an idea, a way of sort of conceptualizing some of the work that might be done. So in terms of like how we can get started here on campus, there's a missing slide. What happened? Or it might be at the very end. But there is, I won't give away Alex's slides in this case. So we have a website. If you just search for digital scholarship on the Bryn Mawr website, you can find a little bit more information about the program. There's an events calendar. This year we're sort of planning and thinking about what digital scholarship as a program would look like at Bryn Mawr. So how do we build sustainable projects that involve faculty, staff, students, and maybe community organizations, right? How do we sort of think about what's unique at Bryn Mawr, what we can sort of bring to the digital scholarship field? So that's it sort of in a nutshell, and I will pass it over to Alex.
Thank you. Hold this because I have some statistics I can't ever remember. So, I know most of you know me, but for those of you who don't, I'm Alex Pfundt. I'm a research instruction librarian in Canada Library, and I'm also the coordinator of information literacy, which means that I'm responsible for infusing information literacy initiatives and learning outcomes across the curriculum, across the college. And I just want to talk very briefly about a project that and new service that we've completed and added to our library instruction program. So for those of you, well, most of you are familiar with our program to some extent, but for those of you who aren't, we do a lot of what we call one-shot information literacy instruction sessions where we tailor a particular lesson to a course, and it's usually tied to the final assignment of that course and learning outcomes of the course. And we come in for maybe one class period, and we go over library resources and critical thinking about information and things of that nature. One of the challenges that we often face with this model of instruction is that we simply don't have enough time to really make authentic learning happen in the classroom. So one of the things that we did was we designed a suite of tutorials to kind of flip the way that we do library instruction and give students a chance to gain some of the more basic information skills in order to prepare themselves for higher order learning outcomes in the classroom when we come and we do more sort of interactive, active learning activities and things of that nature. And the impetus behind our instruction program entirely is that we now have quite a bit more evidence than we did maybe 10 years ago about students' information literacy learning, not only at Bryn Mawr, but nationally as well. So there's this survey that we librarians love to point to all the time, which is the Ithaca SNR Faculty Survey. And what was interesting about the most recent survey, which was from 2015, is that I think it was about 54% of respondents said that they strongly agreed that their undergraduate students have very poor information skills. And that was a 47% jump since the 2012 survey. So we're seeing this nationally, that faculty are recognizing that students are coming to college with much lower information literacy skills than they had been in the past. We also recently confirmed that by doing, at Bryn Mawr, by doing our own assessment study where we administered a standardized information literacy instrument, and we had about 250 students complete this instrument, and found that across the board students, even up to, they're almost there by their senior year, but across the board they are below what is defined as the threshold of information literate. So we also know from our faculty survey that we do internally at Bryn Mawr, our MISO survey, that at least half of the respondents that respond to that survey say that the librarians play a really important role in delivering this type of instruction to their students in their courses. So, and students actually respond in high numbers as well, rating that it's a very important skill. So, as I mentioned, there's a lot of challenges. So we know we have this big kind of problem to address this information literacy deficit, but we are right now with our current model struggling to really move that needle just one class at a time. So this flipped model allows us to not only redesign the way that we deliver the instruction in the classroom, but it also provides a space online for students to, on their own time, actually go and get some of the more basic skills. So they don't actually have to be in a class where a librarian is coming. They can just visit the library website now and get a basic introduction to Tripod, to how to get full text articles and use our interlibrary loan service. And then we have one that's specifically tailored to the social sciences, which was one, we had faculty partners in the social sciences that helped us with our assessment study of this. And that one goes into things about finding empirical research articles in different scholarly databases. So when we design these modules, we try to take into consideration things that we knew about the way that students learn. Like there have been studies that confirm that even just a little bit of interaction can make a huge improvement in a learning outcome versus very just like passive watching a video type of learning. So our tutorials are interactive. They have things like hotspots. They have things like embedded quizzing. A lot of them are based on simulations. So what we've done is actually like recreate the whole process of doing a search in a particular database. And you can see the one here on the left is a little screenshot of Google Scholar. And we did do some, as rigorous as we could, assessment of learning, and we did this over the course of 2 academic years, and we did find in both years, by using 2 different types of methodology, that students are actually, the tutorials combined with the classroom instruction does actually have a significant effect on student learning and information literacy skills. And one just little plug, a piece of pride that I want to point to is that we had actually submitted our tutorials to the Association of College and Research Libraries peer-reviewed database for online learning modules, and 2 of them were accepted. So we're pretty proud of that. And that's my spiel. Okay. And just as a plug, as a service, now we can embed these modules in Moodle in any course that any faculty member thinks it will be appropriate for, and that gives us the ability to actually track whether or not students have completed them. So it's like it's sort of added value as well.
Do you want the Yes.
Do you need this? Okay.
So I guess I'll just get started talking.
I'm Evan McGonigal, and I think most of you already. I graduated from UConn in 2010 as an English major, and I came back in 2012 to work at what was then the Albert and Greenfield Digital Center initiated from within the Greenfield Digital Center. We had a director for a couple of years named Jennifer Redmond who started talking to all the 766 colleges and reflecting on the fact that many of us held really great resources within our college archives that would be of interest to similar or the same groups of researchers or people, members of the public or students at women's colleges who really wanted to explore topics in the history of women's higher education, but found that the resources for doing so with primary sources were very dispersed. So we started talking as a consortium of 7 colleges, or 6 colleges and 1 defunct women's college. And Bass is also co-ed now. And we started talking about what it would mean to build a resource through which people could access our women's higher education related collections from one central portal. And what we discovered was that that was complicated but doable. The NEH agreed, and we've begun to build this website, which is now in beta, called collegewomen.org, that displays items from all 7 collections and links outwards to the local portals, local digital asset systems where they are kept at each institution. So it's not a database so much in that it doesn't store originals of everything. So the exercise has been, for us as a project team, in figuring out how to sculpt the metadata and organize all of the items so that they can be searched from a common interface, which is actually fascinating as well as difficult. And it's led us into many conversations about what researchers would really be interested in discovering from all these 7 collections and how we might think about the language that describes them in a way that speaks to what people either browsing because they're just curious or doing scholarly projects or wanting to teach in a high school or college classroom might be really interested in discovering. So I'll just give a quick tour of the site. Over here. This is what the homepage looks like. And let's see, it scrolls. Oops, okay. I'm gonna have to use arrow keys to be responsive. Yeah. That's a Bryn Mawr picture in the background. Very proud of that. So there's a search bar from the very beginning that allows you to do a simple keyword search. And then there are also various themes that we've highlighted throughout the collections that are more subjective than a subject heading. So we do use Library of Congress subject headings for all of the items that are findable in the system. But those vary by different institutions. Who uses what subject headings? We couldn't really standardize that. So we created themes that touch on commonalities like academics, like race is one. That's not something that you can necessarily tag objectively on your own collection item. But if we agree that a letter or a photograph speaks to questions about race or religion or something more straightforward like sports, we've tagged that in a custom field so that you can now browse by theme. So if you click view all themes, it brings you to a browse page where you can see this drop-down menu. It's a little bit hard to read. We have to tweak that. But you can see a list of some of the themes that we've highlighted. And this is a beta list, so it's actually going to be changed this week, hopefully, tightened up a little bit. And these are the sorts of things that we're consulting with researchers to select. So firsts was a beta idea, thinking maybe women who were pioneers in certain areas could be sorted into the firsts theme. But we're thinking that that might not actually be so useful, or it might not lead people to really rich areas of the collection as much as more straightforward items might be. So this is in progress, and we're working on what the best way to allow people to navigate all the items would be. You can also see there's only 316 items right now. That's because all 7 colleges right now in the second phase of the grant are working on digitizing massive amounts of material and cataloging all of it. So the first ingest that we're going to do as a group is going to come in January of this year, optimistically, late January, and we're hoping that we can start outreach to faculty late in the fall and early next spring so that people who might want to use this in classrooms high school classrooms included, would be able to start developing syllabi using the collections in the spring, as well as giving us feedback about what they'd like to see more of, and how we can better tailor the interface and the collections in the site to their needs and interests. So you can see that all 7 institutions are represented, and you can sort by what institution we're seeing. So alphabetically, Barnard is at the top. Most of these are photographs right now, but the collections do contain letters, diaries, and scrapbooks as well, and photo albums. So if we, let's see, if we run a search, just as an example, for, let's say music. You get a selection from all the different institutions that have been either subject tagged or have music somewhere in the title or the description of the item. And you can see part of what's been interesting with this project is seeing how different all the different formats are. Some people have really long titles. We wouldn't have titled at Bryn Mawr that item, artist Marcel Duchamp discussing art with honor student Elizabeth Henry, whose collage is on the wall above, and other students in the Blight Art Gallery. About Mount Holyoke sometimes has titles that differ from our formats. One thing we're also experimenting with is transcription. So this is a letter from Vassar College, and you can see this image of the letter, but that's actually just the first page, and if you click on that, or if you click rather on view full document, it will link outwards and bring you to Vassar's database instead of showing you the letter right here. This is one of very few items right now, but hopefully soon to be several or many, that has a full transcript attached. And that means that somebody who's interested in that letter will be able to view the original facsimile alongside a much more readable, especially for students in 2016 who've never really dealt with cursive from the 19th century, transcript of the content of the letter. One thing we're working on right now is also figuring out how that will influence search. So if you do a keyword search and you search for a word like, I don't know, something that would be study, if that shows up in every letter of every women's college student that we put into this system, is that going to completely overwhelm the search results based only on the transcripts and filter out all the photographs and scrapbooks and other things? So we're working on the details, but we are right now very interested in receiving feedback, ideas about what people would like to see more of, both in content or in the structure of the interface, and of course in boosting the signal and spreading the word to anybody who might be interested in using this to teach or as a user out of curiosity. So thank you very much.
We definitely have a lot of time for questions for all of us or for individuals, and also just to mingle and have more informal conversation. But I just also wanted to plug our next Tech Talk, which is November 1st, same time, same place. And the focus will be the TIDES grant, which is about computational modules that can be embedded in different places in the curriculum. It was sort of piloted in the physics department, but it's an ongoing project that's sort of moving further into launch. And so Liz McCormick, Doug Blank, and Mark Matlin will be here to talk about that, so it should be really interesting. You have a question, Colin?
Yes, I'm just intrigued by the transcription because it states, if I'm reading it correctly from this distance, though X stayed 2 days after the others. So it's actually, the name is not there and it's actually written as X in the letter.
I haven't read this one very thoroughly in months, so I can.
I can see
it's
X
hard to see.
appearing several times in transcription, and I'm just like, so they're actually speaking in code. They're actually not naming names.
Well, a common thing in letters of the era was actually to do that, to indicate a person by an initial or a couple of initials or a nickname or in some cases something like X.
Trying to remain anonymous.
Right. But in some cases also people might have used that to indicate that they couldn't understand what the word was based on the handwriting. In this case I believe it's the former, and that is actually what the letter says. But different institutions have different standards. Again, contrasts are better on the screen, I would be better able to answer your question. But because it's more exciting to believe that that's an anonymous secret nickname, I should just assume that's what it is.
Yeah, I remember reading part of Horowitz's biography of M. Carey Thomas last year, and in which, in that book, there's a lot of materials drawn from her letters,
Yeah.
M. Carey Thomas's letters, and so there are, correct me if I'm wrong, but there are references in that names are not written out, or it's just text or things like that.
Yeah. Yeah, and that was pretty common at the time. And I think it shows up a lot in the student letters, partially because I